Well, hello guys. This is Katie with Vintage and Vinyl, back with another show and tell for you tonight. And I'm so excited to have Joni on from Vintagerous. She's our Canadian friend in the community, and I'm so thrilled about this show and tell. It is going to be a lot of fun. So, Joni, tell us a little bit about yourself and introduce your channel to the folks here watching tonight.
Okay, will do. And hello to everybody in the chat. I can see some people that I know and love, and I'm sure there's some people that I'm going to learn to love. So I have been on YouTube since I think it was October of last year. So I'm almost at my 1-year anniversary. Yeah. And that was something that I started after being a Etsy reseller for many years, since 2011. On Etsy, I completely focused on glass and china. But when I became a YouTube reseller, I decided I wanted to expand that because I'm a lover of all kinds of vintage. And so I kind of expanded things to include all sorts of home decor, mostly stuff. But I have a kind of a love affair with artistic stuff. So I do love things that are artisan made and or have sort of some studio art kind of background to it. So I tend to have a lot of those things in my sales and on Etsy. But yeah, that's kind of me in a nutshell.
That is wonderful, Joni. Now, guys, if you are not subscribed to Joni, I have linked her down below, so do go subscribe. Joni is so close to 1,000 subscribers, and I know we're going to get you there, so we got to help out Joni. So share Joni's channel with your mailman, your neighbors, your friends, people at the church. Joni is wonderful, and she's so knowledgeable on things and has really, really good live sales. And your live sales are every Tuesday, right, at 9:30?
That's right, 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific. Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. So make sure you tune into that. I do want to say hello to a couple of folks who are joining in the chat tonight before we truly get started. I see Carrie is here. Carrie's always supporting everyone that she can. Amy is in the chat. Thanks, Amy, so much for coming back. She was at my brooch premiere earlier. Thank you so much, Amy. I appreciate that. Barbie is here in the chat. Welcome, Barbie. Kate from Releve Vintage is here. Welcome, welcome. Angela, the fabulous creator of the calendar, is in the chat. Welcome, Angela. Glad you're here. Mel is coming all the way in from Finland. I just love that we have viewers from around the world, which is so cool. So welcome, Mel. Good morning to you. Delbert is in the chat. And Delbert and Joni did a wonderful video together recently. And the challenge was fun. You had to write a vintage poem. So that's very fun. And I'm glad Delbert's tuning in tonight. Sharon is here. Welcome, Sharon. Jay Goodwin is coming back and joining us. Karen Radford is here. Oh, and Michelle just opened the mystery box from you, Joni. How awesome. And Vinny is tuning in. Vinny's going to keep us laughing. Vinny and Delbert throughout the night in the chat, I'm sure. Kat is tuning in. Calypso Cat. Sweet Treats. Teresa B is here. Let's see who else is in the chat. And I did see a message from Michelle saying that she finally tried some digestive biscuits. Now, do you like digestive biscuits, Joni?
I love digestive biscuits, although I'm not allowed to have anything like that right now. But I'm trying to, do the anti-inflammatory sort of diet. But I do, oh man, yes, digestive biscuits were really one of my favorites because I'm not hugely sweet. Like I don't like big sweet things, so digestives were right kind of cookie for me.
They're just perfectly sweet enough. Susan is coming back in. Welcome, Susan. And Mary R. And everyone joining in. Susical is back. Welcome, welcome. I'm sorry, the chat just jumped. So I do appreciate you guys tuning in. And the blue cheese on digestive biscuits is really good if you haven't tried that.
Sounds good.
All right, folks. Well, we're going to go ahead and get started. Joni has an amazing collection of mid-century items that she's going to share with us today. And I am so excited. She's got a little bit of everything from various little collections she has. And I can't wait to see them. So, Joni, I'm going to turn the camera over to you. And I'm just going to let you start showing something that you have in your collection.
Well, it was interesting when I talked to Katie about doing this and trying to sort of think about, okay, what am I going to show? Because what I tend to do is I don't have like one big, massive collection of something. I have sort of what I call mini collections. So things that I typically kind of look for that, and I've got a few of, right? And part of it is because I live in an apartment and I have a limited space. And so, I tend to collect things that are maybe a little more practical, or things that I can, store easily. And so, yeah, so the first thing I wanted to show you, because I've got what I've brought tonight is all mid-century, because I absolutely adore mid-century, 50s, 60s, into the 70s. I love color and I love clean sort of design, simple designs. So the first thing I wanted to show you is that I collect what I call bubble bottom vases. So this is an example of a bubble bottom vase. And you can see that it's got, a nice big bubble on this one. And what I look for when I buy these vases is I look for a really good technique. So if you look at this, you can see that the bubble is nice in the center there. The bottom is polished, cut and polished. You see how it's a really nice polished bottom. And what's neat is I actually have two sizes of this one. So it makes for a really neat display with just, a single rose and a little bit of greenery, maybe something like that. Now these bubble bottom vases, they were made by a lot of the Scandi companies. These are typically made in the Scandinavian area. So Costa Sweden, Home Guard is another, and Aseda. And I think these are Aseda. I'm pretty sure they're Aseda. But again, there's not a lot of information on either the web or in books around these vases. So I've always kind of, had to do lots of research in order to identify them. The other thing that I look for, so this is another example, again, the nice kind of polished bottom there, is I look for how the bubbles have been distributed. I look for really good control to the bubbles. So this one, it's maybe a bit hard to see, but they're kind of in a curved pattern. Do you see that? They're kind of,
It's showing up really well, Joni.
is it? Okay, good. Yeah. So that's another example.
Now, would you consider that Bollicante?
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
You could. Well, I mean, Bollicante is a term that used in Italy, right? And these are Scandinavian, but it's still the same idea. It's a control bubble is really what it's the same thing, right? What's really cool though is then I became friends with Julie AJ Retro, and I think she's off helping our friend Jan with her sale tonight. But when I talked to Julie about sharing things, we talked about bubble bottom vases, and so she said, "Oh, I think I know somebody who's going to be selling some." And so I was able to purchase two from her, and I was super excited because
Look at
really
that.
neat. It's kind of an olivey green, and again, it has that kind of nice polished bottom that I look for. And then the other one that I was able to get from her is a purple one, which is really neat as well. So yeah,
I love the bubbles in the bottom.
Yeah, so I have more than 5 of them, but I thought I would just pull 5 for tonight. And I thought I would show you one that's I mean, from afar it looks pretty good, but this is what I kind of don't look for. So you can see how the bubbles on this one, they're really kind of, always a teacher, right? I was a teacher and I don't think I'll ever stop being a teacher, but do you see how the bubbles are kind of not as regular in this example?
They're kind of scattered.
Kind of not very controlled. And then the bottom of this one, it's kind of got an indent to it. It's not like a nice fat polish. The other thing is if you look at it's cased glass, right? So there's the outside of the glass is cased on the green. And if you look, it's kind of uneven. If you can see that, it's kind of thicker on this side, but not, and thinner on the other side. So the technique is just not there, right? but it's still pretty.
Now we've got a good question coming in from Kate. She said,
Yes.
how easily can these be found in the wild?
Really great question. I think I found all of my collection except for the ones I bought from Julie in the wild. Okay. Maybe taking me a few years, and I kind of buy them and then change them out and, sell maybe one and, do that kind of mixture, every once in a while. But no, they're actually not too hard to find. The quality ones are the ones that are maybe a bit harder to find because there's lots of reproductions of them out there. So you just have to be careful to not get the reproductions, right?
Now, how do you know the difference between a reproduction and an original vase?
Well, I would call this a reproduction because of the, not having the proper control to the bubbles,
Okay.
not having the nice polished base. So that to me is a reproduction. It's probably made somewhere else outside of, Scandinavia. So the thing with Scandinavian vases is it became super popular, and of course then the prices went up. And so then there started to be a lot of copying, right? To meet demand, I guess is the way to go. Yeah.
That makes sense. Now, Jeannie's saying that she's worried she'd break them. So are they very fragile? You have to be careful where you put them.
That's a great question. Some are and some aren't. Like this one here actually is quite thick, and it's certainly the bubble bottom on them, is very. That's a great question. Whereas I think these Asada ones, I mean, this is a much kind of thinner glass, so I'd be a little bit more, careful with that one just because of that. But they're not like the super fine, super fragile glass. No.
That's good. And speaking of breaking glass, my ring light just came toppling down. So there we go. All the things that happen in life.
By your light.
But I absolutely love those. Those are beautiful, Joni. And I just think that the controlled bubbles add something special to them for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I'm a big technique person, that's for sure.
Now, do most of those you find at thrift stores in the wild, or are you paying up at antique stores? Where do you typically find those?
That's a great question too. Yeah. I have found some in antique stores, and I typically find the better quality ones in antique stores, but which is to be understood. But I have found some like these ones, the Asada ones. I was in a thrift shop, what we call Value Village, which is our equivalent to Goodwill kind of in the States.
I wish we had Value Village.
Yeah. Oh, and I didn't even say I'm Canadian, eh? haven't noticed some people say I have an accent, but yeah, so we have what's called Goodwill, and I definitely have found some in Goodwill as well. And the nice thing is because they're bud vases, like I found them for $1, people not knowing what they have, right? So that's the kind of nice thing. And because they're small, right, you can collect a whole bunch of them. And I've also done like really cool displays where, you put a bunch of different colors, right? So it's kind of like there's people that do the stretch vase, displays. Well, you can do the same thing with these, but be, much smaller scale. So that's why I thought it'd be fun to show them tonight.
Really wonderful for a window display as well. Like you said, with the swung vases, people do them by color. And I think that would be beautiful with the light coming in.
That's right. That's right. So if anybody finds one in the wild and you want to sell it to me, hey, let me know.
Be on the lookout for Joni now. Maybe you might have some competition after this, everyone wanting to collect them because they're so cool.
That's right. That's right. For sure.
So we've got a question coming in from Mary R. And I think you had already touched on this, but she wanted to know how you would know a reproduction from an original.
Sure. So the things are looking at the bottom, either it's going to be a curved one. I should have grabbed a couple of my other reproductions, but it's going to have a curved, or sometimes it's a very kind of unfinished, raw, almost base to it. The technique again, so you're going to look for whether or not, if it is an encased one, whether it's, nicely distributed, the outer casing of clear is well distributed. You're going to look at the control of the bubbles, how are the bubbles spaced out? Are there big and small, and not in a regular pattern. Those are, I think, the big things that I look for when I'm trying to decide whether I want to purchase one or not.
Wonderful, Joni. Thanks for re-answering that question.
No
Now,
problem.
I love those, but I'm excited to see what else you have in your
Sure.
collection. So let's see something cool next.
Okay. Well, the other thing that I've started a collection of that I actually really love is Fire King D-handle
Oh,
mugs.
me too.
You love these? Yes.
I love a milk glass Fire King mug. There is nothing like having coffee out of one of these mugs. There's just amazing, amazing, amazing feeling when you have one of these.
They are so fun, and they don't hold a lot, so about 9 ounces or so, but I just love them because I like them for a fancier drink when I'm having like a cappuccino or something like that. I just love them for that. And or a latte, like a, what do you call it? With the turmeric. I forget what those lattes are called, but
Oh, like a turmeric latte, I think is
yeah.
what we just call them here.
Oh, yeah, okay. Now this one is a gay fad one, which means that it's hand painted with the flower designs, and you might see those out called gay fad. Um, and the interesting thing about these mugs is that they started production in the 40s, around 1942, and they stopped production in the 70s. So about 76. So if you find a D-handled mug, you know that uh, it's probably 70s or earlier, right? And so again, what I look for when I'm buying one of these mugs is I look for dishwasher damage is one of the big things that I
Yeah.
would look for, right? So when, to me, dishwasher damage means that the colors aren't shiny. There's no shine to the pattern. It's been damaged by the dishwasher, taking that sort of top layer off. Um, and of course, chips or cracks and things like that would be another thing I would look for sure. Um, the other thing that I like is I really like the D-handled ones with a nice curve here. Fire King also makes what's called stackables, and they're a different shape with a different shaped sized handle. I also like some of the restaurant wear ones that are really kind of a thick handle, this one they call the C handle, but I haven't added any of those to my collections. I just like them. And these I'm finding are harder and harder to find. And the value has gone up considerably. Like,
Yes.
I was shocked looking on Etsy the other day when I was just kind of deciding what to pull for this show, and the prices of some of these mugs are like $50, $60 for a mug like this is just insane to me. But yeah, so you can sometimes find them in thrift mall or thrift stores or antique malls in the sort of nicer sections sometimes. So I thought I would show though. So here's the first one. So that's the gay fad one.
And I have a collection of these as well, and I have a Snoopy one, and you would be surprised how expensive the Snoopy ones are. I like Joni's saying, I mean, I saw them listed anywhere from $50 to $60 if you get the Snoopy ones from the 50s. I'd like to have the whole set, but I only have one with one saying on it. They're
Wow.
really cool. They're expensive.
I'll remember that for you. Then I'll remember that for sure. So this is another one with the yellow sort of diamonds on it.
I love the diamonds.
You have that one. Tell me which ones you have then.
I don't have the diamond one.
This one, which is called peach luster, right?
Oh, that's beautiful.
I like that one. And then this one, which is called the gingham pattern.
I have that one in red.
Do you? Okay, cool. And then this one, again, now, so what I thought I would do that'd be kind of fun, and I hope I haven't mixed them all up here, but let me just make sure. Let me just double check something because I want to do a little guessing game with you guys. Because you can tell by the marking on the bottom what era they are, by what's on the bottom. Okay, so these two. So which one of these two, we'll call this one or well, let's just call them F for F or O for rings, or for O shape, and then we'll call this F for flower. So is it O or F? Which one is the older one? Which one is the older one? In other words, produced in the 60s. Which one do you think? F or O?
If I were guessing, I would say F with the flowers. I could be wrong. We'll see what people in the chat say. Now, I love these mugs, but you're right. You do find them a lot with dishwasher damage. So as far as storing them and cleaning them, you really don't want to put these in the dishwasher, do you?
You do not. You want to hand wash for sure. Yeah. Absolutely, for sure.
So we've got some votes coming in now. Hey, Pamela, thanks so much for joining. Okay, we've got a vote for O. Dana says O. Mary says F. Nettie says O. And let's see. F for book. Carrie says F. Proud American says O. Angela says O. Let's see. The chat just jumped. Cheryl says O. A lot of people, though, are saying F. So you've got some votes for F. It seems kind of mixed, O or F. Pamela's saying F is older. Okay. O, F. So, okay. Well, lots of split. Yeah, we're pretty mixed.
It's pretty mixed. So now, how can you tell? Now, I hope we're going to be able to see this or not. This is the hard part with milk glass and
it is hard. I can kind of see the bottom there.
So what it says there is you see the Fire King in script, and then do you see the words oven proof?
Yes.
Oven
proof. I can see that on my end.
And then on this one, try and get it so it shows here.
It's hard to show these mugs.
It's very hard, but let me just try again. Do you see how this one doesn't have oven proof? It has ware, W-A-R-E, underneath the Fire King. Underneath the Fire King. Okay, so those that have the ware, oven Fire King ware, so that can be sort of 40s, even up to, well, this one has anchor hawking though, doesn't it? Yeah, sorry, with anchor hawking. And then the ware. So the really old ones don't have anchor hawking on them. But if it has anchor hawking and the ware, then in caps, all in caps, then that is from, let me just make sure I get it right, 60s, late 60s to late 60s. So 1960 to sort of into the later 60s. So this is the older one. This one, because it's got on the bottom, it's got the, what did it say? It said oven proof. This is mid to late 70s.
Wow. So, okay.
Yeah, so that's how you can tell the difference. So I got one more little pairing to test you on. Let's see.
Now, I'm curious, why did they say oven proof? What was the need to put the mugs in the oven, or was it just a need that, hey, microwaves are a possibility now and they can withstand microwave heat?
It wasn't for microwaves. I believe it was more because they were considered bakeware, so okay. Because all of their their glass was marked as oven proof for using in the oven. So yeah, no, not for microwave ovens. Okay, so now which one is the older one? We'll call this B for blue and Y for yellow.
Okay. Let's see. I would probably guess that the blue one's older. Okay. That would be my guess. Yes, I'm always needing to heat up my coffee too, Katie. But I'm just in love with these mugs. I also have some Federal glass, milk glass mugs that I love as well. There's just something about that shape, right, Joni, that's wonderful in your hand.
And it makes me think of, greasy spoon diners, which I love, just that kind of era of, fun sort of kitchen-y basics. I don't know.
Now, when these were sold, how many of them came in a set? Do you know?
That's a good question. I think 4 is pretty common in some of the patterned ones, this one that I'm showing now. There's a set of 4, the different colors there. I don't think I've ever seen a bigger set than 4 of a color. Yeah, so I'm gonna say probably 4 is probably the biggest set. So do we guess? Did we got some guesses? Did
We
anybody?
got some guesses. Amy's saying B.
Okay.
Mary says Y. Proud American says B. Angela says B. Susical says Y. Helen says Y. Kate says Y. Dana says B. Mal says B. Carrie's got Y. Oh, and the chat jumped again. Now we do have a lot of B's coming in. Book. Let's see. Barbie B. Happy Life is B. Nettie is B. Kathy is B. Pamela saying she loves the old mugs and graphics. I do too. So yeah, we have a lot of B's, I think, this time.
I'm just laughing looking at Dana's
Moment.
the age of those mugs. Sorry, Pamela. You know
Yes.
I'm here.
We love Pam around here, and I love when she says that. So that is a great homage to Pam.
She cracks me right up.
She does.
So okay. So the answer is, so this one, the blue one, says oven proof. Oven proof. This one says wear. So which one's the older one?
So then the yellow one would be older, the wear.
Yeah, 60s, 70s.
Wow. That's fascinating.
Yeah.
I never even thought about paying attention to March for the ages of mugs, but that makes a lot of sense. So that's something I'll be tucking in my hat for a later day when I'm outsourcing.
Yeah, there's a website that has a kind of a table, and I'll try and find that link and send it to you. That would be interesting. You love the even when we impersonate you, Pam. You still love us. That's great.
We love you too, Pam. But that is amazing. And those mugs are such a cool collection. Now, how do you store your mugs? Do you have them on a mug tree, or do you just stack them up in the cupboard?
I stack them like this in my cupboard. Yeah. So
that's what I do. I don't have anything fancy for them.
No. And I mean, some people collect the stackable ones because they're, much nicer to store too. So that's another thing. You could just start a collection of the stackable ones if they float your boat, right? I'm a lover of a curvy, I'm a curvy girl, and I like the kind of curviness of these mugs. To me, they're beautiful that way.
Well, when you hold them around your hand, they just sort of mold into your hand, and they're just perfect. I don't know if a mug could be perfect. These are perfect. Now, I'm curious, how many mugs do you think you have in your collection?
Probably another 3 or 4 that I have. So I don't have a huge number. So the ones that I'm looking for, just so the people that are out and about looking, I'd like a red one. So something with a red pattern for sure. I've got green, yellow, blue. So yeah, anything outside of those. I think the other ones that I've got, and the other thing I'd really like is a jadeite one. I've been really looking for a jadeite one. So, if anybody sees a jadeite one, please let me know.
I would love a jadeite one.
Yeah, they're getting harder. And the Delphite blue too. I really love Delphite blue.
And those are hard to find. I don't see a lot of those.
They are harder to find, and they're getting really expensive. So for sure. Yeah.
I do have a jadeite teacup that's made by Fire King, but that's the only one I've ever found in the wild.
Yeah. So it's kind of my, thing that you want to find them in the wild, don't you? You want to sort of get your bargain. I don't know. It's the Scottish in me that I need to have the bargain with the find, right? So
exactly.
It's challenge, but it's very, very hard to find Fire King mugs in a thrift shop. I found this one was in a Salvation Army in one of their auction things, where you put sort of silent auction where you bid on it. So I think I paid $10 for it.
That's a great bargain.
It was a bargain. Yeah. So that was probably my best one. I think some of this, I think this one I bought off a seller on Etsy, actually, who lived close by. And this one, I think this one came from, I'm trying to remember now. This is my most recent one. I think this was from Etsy too, actually. I think this was a seller on Etsy that I bought this from because I just loved it. I just thought it was so pretty.
I love that design too. I think the hand painted flowers are gorgeous.
Do you see what Vinny just posted?
Yes, he found a hot chocolate.
Vinny,
Vinny, we're all drooling now over your comment here.
Have you sold it, Vinny?
99 cents. You might have a buyer, Vinny, if you talk with Joni.
Hit me up, boyfriend. For sure. All righty. Shall I move on to my next lot?
I'd love to see your next lot. This is just such a cool concept. I love having not just one little collection, but a whole bunch of like mini collections. Because I think a lot of us, do collect one main thing, but I look around my apartment and I see like miniature collections of little things that I didn't even intend to start, but you just fall in love with them.
Exactly. And what was interesting when I did, was thinking about this show, I was like, wait a minute. Okay, I've got about 4 or 5 different things that I could be showing. But yeah, it's interesting how you start to realize, well, yeah, I have a collection of that too, don't I? Oh, geez. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I have a collection of that too. So I think one of the other collections that I showed was cigarette cards and silks that I showed on Patrick's channel, the Trusty Huckster. I did a show with him around cigarette cards a while back. So if you haven't seen that show, you can go watch that too and see one of my other collections.
That was a wonderful show, Joni. I learned so much. You guys really did a good job.
Oh, good. I'm glad to hear that. So should I go on to my next one then?
Yeah, show us what you've got next. So much eye candy here tonight. I'm loving it all.
Well, my next one is a collection that I'm actually starting. So I thought I would share with you this one too, because it'll be fun to kind of add to it as I go along. But what I decided to start to collect, and then it all started with this picture. Okay, so I'll show you this picture first. So this is a mid-century modern design, and it's made by Herta Gertz, and she is or was a Vancouver ceramicist. So I live near Vancouver, BC, Canada, and so the west coast of Canada. And so what I've decided I want to start collecting is Vancouver or BC pottery or ceramics, because I have a lot of glass, but I don't have a lot of collections of ceramics. And so this one, you can see on the bottom, it says Vancouver, BC, and then the pattern number there. And this was her Northern Lights, it was called, pattern, which is really cool with the different sort of patches of, different designs. Let me see if I've forgotten anything. So she was a German ceramicist, and then came to Vancouver and opened a studio here in Vancouver when she moved here in the 50s. And so this is probably from sort of the late 50s. And what was really cool with this one was, there's two funny things for this one. First of all, one day I was going to visit a friend of mine and meet up with a friend of mine who has young children. So I was meeting up with her at the bus stop. And because I was meeting up with young children, I brought a kind of, because it's going to sound funny, but a granny cart full of, semi-full of snacks and toys and things for them. And I took the bus, and I got off the bus, and I turned around, and I could not believe my eyes. There, right beside the bus, in the meridian of the middle of the street, there was a woman who was set up and doing a yard sale.
Wow.
So I went and checked her out, and it was entirely vintage pottery and glass.
Wow, amazing.
It was like godsend, right? And I had this little cart that I could put stuff in and everything. And this was one of the pieces that I bought from her at that sale. So I think I paid, $4 or something for it. And it's a really neat piece. And then the other part to the story is that in Vancouver, we have a really good art gallery. So we have, it's called the Vancouver Art Gallery, very original name, right? And they had a show called Modern in the Making. And what it was is all mid-century furniture, ceramics, all sorts, anything to do with the mid-century. And I was just, I went to this exhibition and I was drooling because it was just amazing. And I turned the corner and I saw this sitting on a, you see this picture here?
Oh, look at the shape of that.
Sitting on
Wow.
a table. And I went, oh my gosh, that's Herta Gertz. And it was Herta Gertz Northern Lights. So that is the same artist that did this pattern. So I was so excited when I saw a piece that kind of looked like, right, my piece. So that's something that I cherish and will never sell because it's a neat thing.
And
And
how
then
cool is it to have that in the book or a similar, piece in the book and be able to see the two side by side? That's amazing.
that's right. And the neat thing about this collection is that it'll be really rare pieces because most of these potteries and ceramic studios were not open very long, it just wasn't a big community here. So they'll be rare and they'll be special that way, I think. So it's kind of neat and something, from where I live, right? This was the next piece that I want to show you. Look at this. Isn't that
Oh
cool?
man, that's incredible.
Isn't this cool? I saw this and it was in Value Village. I just couldn't grab it fast enough on the shelf. And you can see down below there, it will focus on it for us. So it says, it's hard to see. It says Crown Ceramics Vancouver. So this was another mid-century ceramicist in Vancouver. And it was Crown Ceramics, again around the 50s. They produced between 1945 and 1957. And the only pieces I can find online are in the Vancouver Museum. So, that just goes to show how few pieces there are. And just a really cool kind of, totally 50s pink, right? That kind of dusty, rosy pink. And my favorite, a seahorse. I've always loved seahorses. So this could not be more perfect.
It's absolutely perfect for you, Joni. And what a neat collection to have something from where you live in Canada. I think that's really cool.
So yeah, so on the bottom it just says 300 Crown Ceramics Vancouver. So I'm going to continue to look for. I mean, I do collect Canadiana to sell because I love selling Canadian stuff to you guys, to my fellow Canadians who come to my sales, but also to Americans who have an affinity for Canada. So I do kind of always pick up Canadiana when I find it. But now I'm going to be looking for the ceramics for my collection.
Now, we've got a great question coming in from Michelle, and she's
Sure.
asking, what, if anything, did you keep from the Mattern rack things that you bought, Joni?
Oh, that's an interesting question. And it was one of the things that I thought, well, should I show my child dishware collection? Because that's another collection that I have. Maybe I'll have to do a thing on my channel on that because I do collect child's dishware as well. And I've got a few pieces and I've picked up a few pieces from some of you sellers as well. So from the Madame Rack auctions, from all the lots that I bought there, the things that I've collected or kept from that, the smile plaque. If anybody knows what I'm talking about, you'll know why I kept the smile plaque. It's on one of my videos where when I did the box and opening, I got this plaque, this lucite plaque that has a poem about smiles. And smiles was such an important thing that to me, that when I was coaching and teaching children and adults, I always encouraged them to smile. And that especially when they were in like job interviews and other sort of hard situations to remember to smile. And so it was kind of like one of those things that I always kind of, coached on. So to find this plaque that was all about a smile just sent goosebumps on me, because it felt like I was connecting with her. And so that was a really neat piece to find in that lot. And then I've kept her baby dishes. So
Oh,
have all the
wonderful.
that were from those lots. So those are the two big things that I can think of. I'm sure there was other things that I've kept, and I'm not remembering them. But yeah, so the baby dishes is another thing that I could be good be sharing, too, for sure, because
That's
that's another little.
wonderful. And going along with that theme, this is sort of a statement, but I think that Grace is also Dana. I keep wanting to call you Grace. I don't know why. Dana is asking that she would be surprised if you don't have a vintage button collection. Now, Joni sells some amazing buttons in her live sales, and I bought several from Paris that she picked up, and my mom has made pottery with them, so they're pretty amazing. So, do you have any buttons, Joni?
That is so funny that you say that, because I have just started a button collection. I did not have one before. I've just always loved them. But what's funny is, when I was kind of going through some of my inventory, I found the last set of Paris buttons that I have, and I've decided I'm keeping them.
You
And
should.
I thought to myself, okay, that's the start of my button collection. So there you go, Dana. See, just you inspired it without realizing that. Yes, that it's actually a newest thing that I'm going to start to collect is buttons, for sure.
And the nice thing about buttons is, like you said, you live in a small apartment, so they don't take up a lot of room. You
That's
know,
right. That's right. And I love sorting buttons, and I love the glass ones, but even some of the really cool plastic ones, the Bakelite ones. Oh yeah,
well,
for
the Bakelite ones are amazing.
yeah, for
So,
sure.
what other eye candy do you have to share with us
Yes.
today, Joni?
Okay. So this is another piece that's like really, really special to me. So this is a vase, and it's made. The artist is Wayne Husted, and he's one of the Blanco designers, but this is not from his Blanco era. This is from after he left Blanco and went to Italy. Um, and so this piece, that it's funny that the light's just not shining through on it enough, but it is really, really beautiful, kind of emerald green. And then the story behind this is that this was from my cousin Diana's estate. And my cousin Diana was very, very instrumental in me becoming a reseller and a picker. She was one of the best pickers you'll ever meet. I mean, that girl could find a diamond in a thrift shop. I mean, she was amazing. And so when it was time to sort of clear out her estate, I could have gone crazy. I could have filled my, car up and trailer up and brought a bunch of stuff home, but just didn't feel right to me. And so I went in and I looked for one piece that I knew would be, a really good piece that I could remember her by. And this is the piece that I chose because it just sang to me when I saw it. It's
Oh,
really, full of texture. Yeah.
that green is also the color of those old antique medicine and poison bottles, and I love that color green.
Yes, that's right. That's a really good analogy because it's very much like a poison bottle, I would say, in color. It's just not showing up as well as I'd like it to tonight. But yeah, so
And
that's
that is a statement piece. And how special to have something from family. I say that a lot, but when you're able to have one or two pieces that either you remember somebody using or it was part of something that they spent their time enjoying, it really does make your collection extra special.
exactly. It's I see it and I think of her, and that's so special, right? To have something that really makes you, smile and think of that person. And I'm sure she found this in the thrift shop. I am absolutely positive she found it in the thrift shop, and she probably paid $1 for it, knowing her. So, it just is neat to think of that. And I sort of think of her when I'm doing the sales, and I think of her when I'm out collecting and picking, because I know when I find something good, she's shining down on me. I really
Wow,
believe that. Yeah.
how wonderful.
And then I have this, and you might recognize this kind of shape of vase, but because I just did a giveaway for a vase like this. This one's a much bigger one. I did a giveaway for a blue one. But this is a Arthur Percy bottle vase that was given to me on my 50th birthday from a dear, dear friend. So it's again Arthur Percy, so you can tell by the indent there, and the fire polished kind of rim. But I love this piece. It's a really neat one, and I put it up. It actually sits next to this green vase in a little kind of vignette that I have on my shelf. So I love these bottle vases. They're really neat. And again, I'll plug the Lisa Pina book, because if any of you are mid-century collectors, especially mid-century glass, and you like Scandinavian glass, this book is by far the best. It's like a Bible. And just look at all the pictures of the different
Oh,
bottle vases. My sort of, I think, is it my note? It's not my top sale, but it's close to my top sale. There's a picture on my Etsy shop if you want to check it out. It's a bottle vase like that was green, and it was 40 inches, I think, tall. So it was like what they consider a floor vase. And I found it in a thrift shop for $20.
wow.
And I could not buy it fast enough.
I'm
And I
sure.
carefully took it home and promptly listed it on Etsy for, what did I sell it for? 800, 700, I think. And
That's amazing.
it sold quite quickly, and luckily to somebody who lived about 3 hours away, and they
Oh,
decided to
good.
drive down and pick it up.
Oh, that saves so much on shipping.
So I didn't have
Wouldn't have wanted to ship that.
No, but it's one of my sort of big flips that sort of I think about. And
Now,
then
when you're looking at her glass, is there a reproduction that you have to be on the hunt for to know that, hey, this is not original versus, what? Because I know that a lot of people find reproductions of things and they might think that it's an original, but it's not.
the Arthur Percy ones, not so much that there's reproductions, but there's ones that aren't Arthur Percy. So some people
Okay.
collect specific designers, right? But there were a number of Scandinavian companies that made these bottle vases. I guess the reproductions, you know where the reproductions are? IKEA.
Oh,
So
yes.
a lot of IKEA's designs, if you look at them, they are reproductions or inspired by classic mid-century Scandinavian design. So to me, that's probably where you're going to see the most reproductions. But you'll also see, Italian vases that are similar in shape. There's some Empoli vases that have kind of a diamond pattern in them as well, and they're bottle vases as well. But so the Scandinavian ones are clear but colorful, right? So that would
And
be
that's
my
and
answer to
that's
that.
how you will tell as the indented bottom and the clear glass.
Yeah, the dented bottom tells you it's Arthur Percy. The other thing you look for is a fire polished rim on it as well.
Okay.
The other thing to look for. I remember that when I sold that big green glass one, the really tall, the really big one. That was the first thing he did, was he took it and he, looked at the bottom and he looked at the rim, and so I knew I had a real collector on my hands.
Wonderful. Well, thanks for sharing that. Those are good things to be on the lookout for. And I saw someone saying that they love the identification books. I do too. And I think that anytime we can learn about a new one to add to our collection, it really is a gem, because they have so much information that maybe you can't find online, and they have pictures, which is
Yeah.
so helpful.
Absolutely. And Lisa Pina is one of my favorites. So it's L-I-F, or Leslie, sorry. Leslie, and then Pina is Pina. And she did two books. So this one that's Fire and Sea, and then there's Smoke and Ice as well. So if you get those two, so the Smoke and Ice is all the sort of smoky colors. So they, the smoky brown and grays and clears, whereas the Fire and Sea is all the colorful glass. So they're not cheap, but they're great books, really great books. Yeah.
Wonderful. We've got about 10 minutes left. So is there anything else that you want to share with us, Joni?
I have one more piece to share. I figured I could not come on my friend Katie's channel and not bring a brooch.
Oh, you got to bring back the brooch.
I have to bring a brooch. So here's the brooch that I want to show you guys. It's been part of my jewelry collection for a very, very long time. I bought this, gosh, when I was in my 30s. I'm 50. What am I, 57? So, just to give you a sense. And it's cool. It's lucite. You see how it's lucite? And then it's Swarovski crystals that are been embedded into this pair. It actually is a clip-on earrings to go with it, but I just didn't have the time to find them because I don't wear them. But I wear this brooch a lot and have worn a brooch a lot. It's just really cool. And this is called the Forbidden Fruit. Some of you might know this. Does anybody know that in the chat? Katie, you were saying something about you thought you might have one of these forbidden fruit.
I might have a forbidden fruit piece. I have an apple that looks just like that. It's got the Swarovski crystals and the lucite, and then the I can't tell if yours is silver or gold with the leaves on the pear.
It's a gold, but then it's got an enamel of green on it.
Yes, mine has that too. So I might have a forbidden fruit.
Well, they're made in Austria and Germany in the 50s. And sometimes these can be actually gold plated or silver plated. And sometimes it's brass, depending. But I just think it's really cool. I've always had a thing for lucite. I've got a few lucite pieces around. Like I've got a trivet that's lucite, because I don't know. I love glass, so it's kind of similar, I guess, to glass, and that's maybe why it's caught my eye. But I just thought I would share one of my favorite pieces, and it just looks so great on black, right?
Now, let me show you this one while we're on the subject, because this is the apple that I have. So do you think that's the same?
Yes, I definitely think that's forbidden fruit. Yeah, for sure.
And there's the back. That looks very similar to the one you have, Joni. So yeah. I think I do have that. And I have to shout out my mom for finding that. She didn't know what it was, but she just thought I might like it. And she found it for a couple of bucks somewhere and brought it to me and said, you could put this in sale. And I said, no, I have to keep it.
Isn't that amazing? Yeah.
So way to go, Mom.
Way to go, Mom. You got to score. Cool. Very cool.
Been so much fun, Joni. I just adore your collection. You have such a unique, different couple of items that you've shared with us tonight. Just so cool. I really enjoyed seeing it all, and I think people really enjoyed seeing it in the chat. I saw Pam saying it was a fantastic show and lots of interesting information. You are so knowledgeable, Joni, on the things that you show. I'm always learning from you.
I've done it for a few years, so sometimes that knowledge kind of collects, just like the collection, I guess, right? But I'm also amazed at this community. I learn from this community all the time, and I'm never humble enough to call myself an expert. I will never ever do that, because glass especially is so hard to ID, and
it is.
It's just, I'll never call myself an expert. I always say that it's something that you can always learn more about. And that's, I think, maybe why I like it, because I'm a, perpetual learner, right? So it's that teacher thing again.
Well, it's always fun to learn about different items. And I feel the same way, Joni, that you do. I'm always learning from everyone in the community. You watch a live sale or you watch somebody's video and you discover something new. and you think, oh, I didn't know that people collected those, or I've never seen one. And then you go down a whole rabbit hole learning about it, which I think is really cool. And that's part of the reason I started doing these show and tells, is because I really wanted people to see that there was a variety of things that people collect. And I was hoping it would, A, inspire people to maybe collect something new, or B, just do some research on something really cool that many people didn't know was a collection.
I think that's brilliant. I really do, because like you said, there's so many things you can collect, and people, collect things in interesting categories. Like what I've learned over the years of selling to a lot of collectors is some collect purely by color. I've had lots of people buy from me that are, black glass collectors or green glass collectors. I've had people collect by area, so Swedish, only Swedish, or only, this or that. So that's the thing about collecting that's so fun, is you can decide what your niche is, right? Whatever sort of sings to you, and then you can collect based on that. So that to me is really cool too.
It really is. It's just amazing. Well, Joni, thank you again so much for being on tonight. This was just a delight. I learned so much, and I saw so much vintage eye candy, and I hope you guys enjoyed it as well. Make sure you are subscribed to the fabulous Joni and tune in to her live sales on Tuesdays at 9. I think I got that right. There's so many different sales and things going on. It's hard to keep track of the time sometimes, but I try.
Yes.
And I just thank you so much for tuning in tonight. Thank you again, Joni. Thank you, everyone in the chat, for tuning in, participating, asking questions. And of course, definitely go follow Joni on YouTube. And as always, guys, I hope you will stay in, stay safe, and bend YouTube. Bye-bye now.
Bye.
What?